Welcome to the Faith and Happiness podcast. I am your host, Elle Edwards, happiness coach, mental health champion, and founder of the Faith and Happiness Playground. And if you're ready to smile more simply by being you here, I would invite you to go to faithandhappinessplayground.com/join to find out more and join us. In the meantime, though, let's crack on with today's episode. All this week in the podcast, we are thinking about shoulds. And specifically, I'm here to encourage you to shove the shoulds. Now, yes, that is quite tricky to say. And yes, I do have to be careful as I say that. Shove the shoulds. What's the reason for that, though? Long-time listeners will know I have a really, really, really hard time with the shoulds. The reason being, the number of times I hear people saying, oh, I know, I'm going to do this thing. I don't really want to, but I'm just, I should do this. And oh, I should do that. And they say it with a lethargy and a fed upness, which I know isn't even a proper word. But there's this negativity around should. And yes, there are some shoulds that we need to do. And we're going to get into that later in the week. But really, if we could do away with that word should altogether and maybe use some different language instead, we'd be an awful lot happier. Because the reality is, I know that you do a lot of things, a lot of shoulds. You have that sense of duty and you show up and do the things, you care for your family, you do what's dutiful and needed of you in work, for example. And that's great and that's honourable. But I want to ask you, is that really serving you? Just a question for you to ponder on as we continue with today's episode. Because I want to encourage you, and we're going to look at this from a couple of different contexts, but I want to encourage you and to ask you to reflect on the idea that actually, what if you did things, instead of doing things because you should, you did them because you wanted to? Love or duty? That's what we're really thinking about today in this episode. Doing things because you feel like you should, a sense of duty, or doing them through love. Now, we're going to give some context to this. I want you to imagine, for example, some of the things that maybe you ask your children to do. There are times when we persuade our children to do things that they really don't want to do. And there might be a little bit of metaphorical arm twisting going on there. What if instead we could equip and inspire our children to do them because of love, not because of a sense of duty? And, as I say that, I'm reminded of the fact that actually there are some shoulds that are kind of useful. Cleaning our teeth. I encourage my son to clean his teeth twice a day. He does not enjoy cleaning his teeth at all. He does it because he should. However, even in that context, we can reframe this. And we are going to be talking about this reframe piece of it a little bit more on Wednesday. But just by way of introduction, what if instead of encouraging my son to clean his teeth because he should, we actually had a conversation about, well, what will happen if you don't clean your teeth? What are the repercussions of that? And then he starts to make a choice. And like I say, we're going to dig more into choice on Wednesday, so I don't want to get ahead of myself there. I just want to remind you, you love because God loved you first. 1 John tells us that. We love because God loved us first. Now, some of you will have heard me tell the story before of the fact that I prayed the prayer when I was 12. I was scared out of hell when I was 12. We literally had a very staunch Welsh preacher in the upper rooms. Every Friday night there was a youth meeting, and it was quite well done, in fairness, because it was in this sort of upper room and there was comfy chairs, and it was really well attended as well. And so, that sense of community amongst people of a similar age to you, and sometimes a little bit older, it was really good. And I remember that every week they'd have a different sort of preacher type person. And this one guy, and I don't remember whether his name is Morgan Morgans, William Williams, or Thomas, but it was something like that. I'm not even kidding, that was his name. But I have to, as much as I kind of joke, he stood there and he's, have you prayed the prayer? Do you know where? It was really like full on fire and brimstone. And I was like, oh. And so that night I prayed the prayer because I really did not want to go anywhere else other than heaven, and that's fine. It's all part of the journey. But since then, what I then say is actually I was loved into heaven when I was 23 or 24. And the difference in my relationship with God, duty versus love. We're told there's perfect love drives out fear. And I've said to you before, if every single person on this planet knew just how loved by God they are, how treasured by him they are, they'd come running to him with open arms, not because they wanted like a heavenly get out of jail free card. That's the real sadness, I suppose, of the way that God has been portrayed. And I guess it's one of the biggest tricks of the devil is the fact that, we picture God as one of two things, either really aloof, or one of three things: aloof, a Father Christmas type figure, or somebody really stern and judgmental. He's your loving Heavenly Father. And actually, that's the underlying piece behind this whole shover thing. Told you it was hard to say. Is I would love for you to be showing up every single day, full to the top with God's love, going out there and being God's arms and hands and feet and mouthpiece, because you love him and he loves you and you just want to do it. That is much more empowering and really much more in keeping, I believe, with the way that Jesus told us, to love other people, as opposed to doing it because we should. Now we're going to I'm again getting ahead of myself. Friday's episode, we're going to be talking about that. Do we show up and love on people because we want to, or because we have to? What do you think about that one? If you were here last week or the week before even, you'll remember that on Fridays we're doing what I call Faith Friday, because I love alliteration. And so on Fridays we're looking at some of the spiritual output of other people. I couldn't think of a proper phrase there. Stuff that other people have put out there about God stuff, and looking at it, and do we agree? Do we agree with some of it? Do we disagree? And that's what we'll be digging into on Friday, is that sense of duty, doing it because we should. No, I want you to ditch those shoulds. I would be quite content if you didn't do another thing that you should ever again. And I know that will be hard for some people who are following along with this episode. A lot of my ideal favorite people really do struggle with doing anything other than what they should. And I'm here actually maybe just to sort of nudge you and tweak it slightly, because what you're doing is wonderful and it's served you thus far. But actually, what if we could take where you are right now and then move you forward and help you thrive? And that's really what my passion is here at the Faith and Happiness Playground. It's about helping you to thrive. Life can be frustrating. Life can be a bit difficult. It goes really fast and we kind of muddle on from one day to the next, and we do these things because we should. Like I get up at 6 a.m. because I'd have a shower and get the children up and get them to school, and because that's what we should. What if instead you were empowered by love? That's what I really want for you. And if that sounds like something you want to share, go to faithandhappinessplayground.com. Find out more. And if you want to join us, add a join on the end. I'll be back next time. In the meantime, thank you for being here. Take care. Bye-bye.